Giannis Antetokounmpo to the Toronto Raptors? Here we go again. I feel like I'm back in 2020 because one of my highest viewed videos on this channel was making a bold take back in 2020 when I said that Giannis would join the Raptors in 2021. And of course, that did not happen. But here we are in 2025, and the idea of Giannis joining the Raptors once again becomes relevant. Because Giannis, he could be traded this summer. Yes, Giannis could be the next big superstar traded because following his third straight first-round exit, his future with the Milwaukee Bucks is very uncertain. You got Damian Lillard, fresh off tearing his Achilles. The Bucks have so many holes on their roster. Management has not done a good enough job of building around Giannis following their 2021 championship season. So there is just growing belief now around the league that Antetokounmpo could be dealt this offseason. Of course, Giannis, he still has a couple years left on his current contract, but if the Bucks and Giannis decide their time with each other is over and the Bucks do in fact make him available this summer, cue the Toronto Raptors. They could for sure find themselves in those conversations because we know how much Masai Ujiri loves Giannis Antetokounmpo. We're going to talk about the idea of Giannis possibly joining the Raptors and what it would take in this one. Do me a solid, guys. Smash a like on the video and smash that subscribe button for more videos just like this. So the Raptors, they have long coveted Antetokounmpo. Going back to more than a decade here. In 2013, there was that infamous clip of Raptors president Masai Ujiri desperately trying to get into the first round to draft him. That obviously didn't happen. And then even in 2020, when I really believed this was going to happen, the Raptors, they created cap space flexibility. And I really thought at that time, like I was convinced that Giannis was going to find his way to Toronto for various factors. If you watch that video from 5 years ago, you can go into that and check it out. But of course, Giannis, he never ended up testing the free agent market the following summer because he ultimately re-signed with the Bucks before that could even happen. The Raptors, they're always seemingly in the mix whenever a superstar suddenly becomes available. It's like, here we go again, seriously. Every single summer now, it feels like the Raptors are one of the main teams to acquire the next big superstar. I mean, you got to go back a couple seasons ago when they were legit the front runners. I mean, at least reportedly they were the front runners to acquire Kevin Durant. And then they made a really strong push for Damian Lillard in 2023. Remember that whole Shams bomb, whatever you want to call it, debacle where he actually did tweet out momentarily that the Raptors made the trade before realizing he messed up and deleted it. So could this finally be the summer where the Raptors pull off another big trade for a star? Could the Raptors be lurking here? Do they have a trick up their sleeve? Does Masai have another all-in move up his sleeve? And here's the thing. Masai Ujiri, he has stated many, many times that he wants to win again. And before I thought they were going to take the slow, methodical approach on things and really do a proper rebuild, but we saw in an instant that if Masai has an opportunity to trade for a big-time player, he's going to do it. And when he traded for Brandon Ingram, it told me the Raptors are willing to expedite this rebuild. And it really did fast-forward this rebuild. This team is expected to compete as soon as next season. So, I mean, if he made that trade, what's stopping him from going all in and making another trade for a big star and trying to pair potentially Giannis with Brandon Ingram? So I do think there's a lot of validity to the fact that if Giannis is made available, Masai is going to do his due diligence as he always does. He's going to be a part of those conversations. But now here's the thing, right? Let's just say Giannis, he is indeed on the market. Bucks are open to trade him. Would the Raptors be willing to part ways with Scottie Barnes? Because a deal for Antetokounmpo would almost certainly begin with Barnes. I know there's some other scenario, some mock trades that I've seen out there. You know, you can go with Barrett and Pirtle with a bunch of first-round picks to make it work. But the Bucks don't do business with the Raptors here unless Barnes is included. I mean, it seems obvious enough because if you look at the Bucks, if they're trading Giannis, they would for sure, I would think, want a young star that they can start their rebuild around. I think they would want a young star player back with a boatload of picks. So the Raptors would have to package, say, Scotty Barnes and RJ Barrett to make the salary work, or they could package Barnes with Abaji and Dick. That also works. And then, of course, beyond that, Raptors would have to sweeten the pot with draft picks. And the Raptors, they do control all of its first round picks, which includes this year's selection, which is projected to go number 7 ahead of the NBA draft lottery. And we don't know where that pick is ultimately going to be. It could be higher, which could give the Raptors even more ammo if they want to go all in on a big star. Now, guys, real quick, I do want to shout out today's video sponsor, BetUS TV. Go check out them for more NBA and sports content. They're an awesome content hub. Shout out to BetUS TV for powering today's video. So I think it would ultimately come down to the Raptors having to include Barnes. Of course, in theory, they could create other deals that don't include Barnes, but I really don't see the Bucks doing business with the Raptors if it doesn't start with Scotty, especially when you look at other teams who would be in the running for Giannis. They can make very compelling offers when you got the Rockets, Spurs, and Thunder, because those are all teams that can entice the Bucks with young talent and also draft assets. So it would come down to, would the Raptors, again, be willing to do that? And it would be surprising, I think, if the Raptors all of a sudden pivoted out of Barnes and just like gave up on him like this just because they weren't willing to include him in that deal for Kevin Durant a couple summers ago. But at the same time, a couple seasons have passed. We've seen Barnes, his development, awesome player defensively, can't knock him there. But offensively, he took a step back this past season. Let's call it for what it is. And he's going to be turning 24. He's going to be entering his 5th season, which is crazy. And you got to be realistic about like how much better can Barnes get on the offensive side. You really wanted to see him make a lot of progression on the offensive side of the ball, and it just didn't happen this past season. Of course, there was the circumstances of, the Raptors trying to give themselves a top pick and all that stuff, but we just didn't see enough on the offensive side that leads you to think that Barnes can be that superstar type player. And to me, I don't think he's going to reach that Giannis Antetokounmpo ceiling. So then, with all that in mind, does Masai and the Raptors change their approach on Barnes? And do they think to themselves, hey, if we trade Scotty, we have Giannis and Brandon Ingram. Of course, you got to make the depth work after, depending on what you give up in that deal. But let's just say that deal happens. Like, you got Giannis and Brandon Ingram. Like, in an East that outside of Boston and Cleveland, let's call it, is really wide open, especially if the Bucks implode. The Knicks, I think, are overrated. If you get the right depth around those guys, the Raptors do have some nice depth. Like, maybe that does something, right? So it would be very interesting. Like, I would still be under the notion, play it out, don't give up on Barnes yet, give it at least one season beside a true guy in Ingram who can be the number one. But at the same time, it's like opportunities like this don't come along too often. And if there's a realistic shot to get Giannis, especially considering the relationship he has with Masai, would the Raptors be willing to go all in again when it comes to trying to win a championship? Because you look at Giannis, I think he takes care of himself really, really well. This is a guy who I don't see slowing down all of a sudden. I know he's 30 years old, but he's in his prime, give or take, right? You enter your prime as an NBA player, 28? So he's in it right now. Like, he's pretty good with the injury history. So this would be very, very interesting. And I think we'll get a lot of this summer if indeed the Bucks make Giannis available. And it's all predicated, of course, on that. But we'll see what happens here, guys. But let me know, would you be willing to include Scotty? Masai's made impulsive decisions in the past. Just ask DeMar DeRozan. But this could add some intrigue to the Raptors' summer, which otherwise seemed pretty quiet coming in. But we'll see how the Giannis stuff plays out. And of course, if Giannis is indeed made available, so many teams, if not every team, is going to be at the forefront of trying to trade for Giannis. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Drop a like on the video. Sub to the channel if you're new. That's it for me. It's Luke signing off. Thanks for watching. I will catch you all again in the next one.